Hello and welcome. I'll continue to talk about the comments and questions you have kindly sent in. So getting straight on with that. First question, I want to ask you, does prolonged meditation give rise to heavy energy like Kundalini, etc.? How do you prepare your body for it? Sadhguru was saying your organs might fail if you bring in heavy energies in. Is patience the key? Okay, so does prolonged meditation give rise to heavy energy like Kundalini, etc.? So I'm not very familiar with the practice of Kundalini. I understand, and I could be wrong, it is like pranayama, this breathing yogic technique, which will bring about effects, phenomena of euphoria. In my very limited understanding of the subject, I would attribute that to an over-oxygenation, a hyperventilation, physical phenomena, rather than the gaining of any spiritual attainment or deep insight. But that is just my own personal point of view from the perspective of a practitioner in Buddhist meditation, as opposed to this, which is of something else and can be considered something entirely different. So does prolonged meditation, the kind of which I practice, Buddhist meditation, specifically mindfulness of the breath, is what I talk to you about. But my prolonged meditation personally is to some extent even a little more simple than that, because I've practiced for a long time. But it does bring about invigoration, energy. There are physical phenomena as well as mental. But whether or not this can be compared to what you describe, I don't know. How do you prepare your body for it? There's no preparation necessary. The practice of meditation, as I meditate, is harmless in that sense. One sits comfortably, allows time for the body to settle and naturally relax, with no forced breathing or techniques or exercises of that nature. Simply observation of the breath, not a way of trying to control the breath. Fully understanding it, seeing it clearly for what it is, the qualities of the breath. This is anapanasati, as the Buddha taught. So no preparation is necessary. As far as organs failing, no, this would not come about in terms of the meditation that I refer to. Finally, you say, is patience the key? Certainly, yes. In Buddhist meditation, patience coupled with determination is very much the key. This isn't an instant practice. It takes time. It is a training. It is learning, like learning a child, a baby, learns to walk. At first, it will keep falling. It is quite some time, with much practice, before that baby, that child, can actually stand on 2 feet for any length of time and walk. Meditation is much the same. We're learning a new skill that needs to be practiced, developed, perfected, in order that you can sit for a long time. Now, the result of this will be clarity of mind, a calmness of mind, peace and tranquility, and the invigoration qualities of it are such that you will have more energy. It is more restorative even than sleep if one can become deeply absorbed in samadhi, that is single focused attention on your meditation object for a long period of time. Okay, I have a question regarding mano and citta. In the first chapter of the Dhammapada, it states that all things originate from the mind, in this case from mano. So it states the mind is the forerunner of all things. It doesn't necessarily, it may in the Pali, let me think, I can't recall, differentiate. It doesn't always differentiate between mind and citta. So that will rather depend on the translation, if you're reading the translation. In the Pali, however, likewise, it doesn't always differentiate. Those words get used a little bit interchangeably. In the first chapter of Dhammapada, it states that all things originate from the mind, in this case from mano. Where does this mind come from? Is this part of the 5 khandhas, or is this something autonomous? And what distinguishes mano from citta? So there's a number of questions there, but it's really one. So the all things are preceded by thought. Our thinking brain that we can refer to as mind, as it experiences, we feel, experiences emotions, is giving our body and our actions of body, speech, the instructions to act, to behave, to react. And all things we do in that respect are preceded by some form of thought. The verse, the number 1 of the Dhammapada, verse 1, chapter 1, the first actual saying is that the mind is the forerunner of all things, as an ox precedes the cart and so on and so forth. The mind precedes everything. This is rather generally describing the whole aspect of the thought process. So when we refer to acts of body, speech and mind, it is that mind it's referring to. As far as citta is concerned, now this is to something, you could call it autonomous, you could call it something separate from the 5 khandhas, because the 5 khandhas of bodily, this solidity, the body, rupa, and then we have feelings and perception, or coming from the sense stores of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, then our reactions or recall through memory of whether or not we like or dislike, how we feel about those senses we are receiving. Now I'm losing track of where I've got to, so I'm hearing some background noises which did put me off a little bit there. The consciousness, so vijnana, consciousness in the khandhas, is the mind that is experiencing the senses and developing the emotions. The citta is that which observes and sees. You use the word autonomously, but it is to some extent slightly separately the results of those, the combination of those 5 khandhas and the created, therefore, consciousness. You're using the word mind as mano, and you're not using an English word for citta. Now, I would use mano as thinking brain and mind as citta. The thinking brain is here and deals with everything that results from the 5 khandhas, including consciousness in terms of vijnana, consciousness. The citta is the mind, which isn't located, but is simply pure conscious awareness of all of that. It is in respect of the verse of the Dhammapada, when they refer to the mind as the forerunner of all things, is in fact a combination, because it is of course the citta that stores the results of causes and conditions we are putting in place. We call, through karma, we call vipaka, karma vipaka, and therefore determines in fact how that thinking brain might react, behave in relation to other stimuli. So they are separate. Furthermore, you'd like to know about nibbana, as it's a state without dukkha, anatta and anicca. However, it often feels unreal to contemplate it. You cannot contemplate it because it cannot be contemplated within the 5 khandhas or observed or witnessed as in the conventional sense in comparison to anything we have experienced or are used to. It can only be already in samsara, in worldly existence, within the experience of the bodily form and the thinking brain, but it can be experienced through a glimpse of it can be experienced through deep states of absorbed meditation. So you'd like to learn more about it. The way we learn more about it is to experience it through our practice. So you keep practicing, you keep maintaining sila, practicing meditation, and the development of wisdom will incorporate the experience of the glimpse of nibbana. You can read many books about it, and there are volumes, very long, big books, chapters and chapters, describing beautifully the essence of nibbana. But it is to be experienced for oneself, and cannot therefore, after even being experienced, be described, because it doesn't equate to anything that we are familiar with through our normal senses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, because as you say, it is separate from nibbana. Yes, without dukkha, anatta and anicca, but it's actually separate from the 5 khandhas which experience anicca, dukkha, anatta. I have been meditating for an hour or so every day for some time. The question I have is that I feel quite a lot of tension in my face and the top of my head when I meditate, and the effects linger after a session is concluded. Is that a common experience? Or a phase that meditators go through? Or just particular to me? I've been to a doctor and they say there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe I just need to relax. I need to get better. Maybe I just need to get better at relaxing. Yes, well, it is quite common. People say they have strained facial or headaches. Exactly what you're describing. It's just not particular to you. It's quite common, and the reason for it is people trying too hard. the way when often I am giving guided meditations, which I don't do very often, but if you go back, there's a playlist on this channel of them, I will say very regularly, relax your face. Now, it might sound like a strange thing to say, but it's actually very pertinent to meditation, because many people, when they're trying to meditate, are doing that. They're trying. I especially am very familiar with teaching meditation to Indian people. I'm not discriminating here, but they have a serious tendency to really try and focus their eyes inwardly to the third eye, because they've heard of this, haven't they? Which is really the pineal gland there somewhere. And they're going boss-eyed, looking like this. So this gives you a headache. It's creating unnecessary tension in the face. And it's absolutely a useless exercise as far as the meditation that I'm practicing is concerned. One should have one's eyes closed just gently, not squeezed shut like this. You can't shut out all of the light, just close gently. If you imagine the image of the Buddha, his eyes aren't even completely shut. It appears as a slight opening at the bottom, but eyes are naturally gazing a few feet in front of you to the floor. So your eyes would be looking down like this, but just gently closed. And then I will say, relax your face. Because if you begin by relaxing the tension around your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, making sure your teeth are not clenched, maybe just put your tongue between your teeth to ensure that, and relax your face, reminding yourself regularly through the meditation, relax your face, relax your face. The rest of your body in turn will relax along with that. It will relax with you, because like earlier we were saying, the mind is the forerunner of all things. This face is like the odometer or the instrument panel of a car. It shows all that's going on, not only in the body, but the mind. This is how people can see your emotions and see how you're feeling without you saying anything, because your face has so many muscles expressing those emotions mentally and feelings physically. Actors train themselves for many hours in front of a mirror, I would imagine, I don't know this, with just their face, because that's how they convey such deep messages. Now, if you're trying too hard to become relaxed and you're trying too hard to meditate, the first thing that tenses up is around your eyes and the rest of your face, your jaw, which in turn makes your neck tense and will give you long-lasting effects after you've finished your meditation. Usually I hear back from my Indian practitioners, I have got a terrible headache. So I sit and I watch them meditate, and I look and their eyes are, I can't even do it, cross-eyed, trying to look to the top of their head. And I do that for about 30 seconds and I would have a headache myself. I say, stop doing that. Or they're even trying to look straight up with their eyes. So their eyes, pupils disappear into the back of their heads. I'm not mocking these people, but I am in a way, because why would anyone want to do this? Just relax, let your eyes drop naturally, looking down to the floor, and close your eyes. It's all about that. Relax your face. Remember that phrase, relax your face. And actually you can bring this into everyday activities, all that you are doing. I've spoken of this before. About, let me just check I'm still on this question and not gone off at a tangent too much. No, that's right. Yeah, tension in your face is so important. So I'm very glad, it's a very good question, because it is so important in meditation, more than many other things. Your overall posture is determined by this. So like with the car, you have these range of dials saying how fast you're going, how the revs are doing with the engine, the temperature of the engine. Your face is giving you all of this information also. And here comes the rain. So with this in mind, with a car, if you were to alter these instruments, it will have no effect on the speed of the engine or the car or the temperature. But with the face, it does have an effect. If you're going to do any trying or forcing, force and try your face to relax, because that will slow down and help relax the rest of the body. It is a very noticeable effect that it has. When you say to yourself, relax my face, and with that, breathe in through your nose, the rest of your body instantly relaxes. If you're doing anything in everyday life, any tasks that require concentration, notice that your face tenses, your eyes squint up. Everything's getting ready to be focused, to see clearly. Your eyes are squinting, your jaw's tensing to bite. It's our hunting, animalistic instinct. All of this is going on, and so demonstrably visible in and able and noticeable by feeling in the face. When you're doing that complex task, whatever it may be, try this exercise. Say to yourself, relax my face. As you breathe in, then continue with your task. You will find that you will not make a mistake. You will not slip with that task. Whatever it is, however difficult it is, you're trying to thread a needle, as an example. You're tensing, you'll never do it. But you will eventually. But if you just relax your face, whatever it is you're trying to achieve will be achieved. And so this is, you don't need to go to the doctor. It is common. It's trying too hard. It's just facial tension, which is the reverse of bodily tension. Artificially relax your face by telling yourself to do so, and your body will relax also. Okay, I'm tired. Should I take a quick nap to have a bit of compassion for myself, or should I just power through and ignore it? You know, if you're tired, yes, make sure you're reviewing your sleep pattern, getting enough sleep, eating well. Do not eat before meditation. Have at least an hour, maybe preferably 2 to 3 hours before you meditate. That's much easier, of course, if you're keeping 8 precepts, because you don't eat in the afternoon. That's largely why we do that. Because if you've got a tummy full of food digesting, it will bring about lethargy and tiredness. That's why people have a sleep after lunch. It's bad and unhealthy to do so. You should walk, you should have exercise, but people feel tired. So diet, nutritional, getting enough sleep is important. If still then you feel tired, then it is just a hindrance. So yeah, try powering through. Watching the breath, observing it, breathing in a little more deeply, a little artificially, not controlling it fully, but just really taking a few deep breaths might help invigorate you, and opening the eyes maybe, or getting up and practicing walking meditation. I'm sure I've spoken about that recently. You're saying also you're tired throughout the rest of your day, and your mindfulness you're mindful of the tiredness, but it's stifling your motivation. I mean, this lethargy is not coming from good meditation. It's coming from perhaps a routine of meditation which needs to be, the wrong word, spiced up, but review. I don't know what your practice is. If you're practicing anapanasati, you're practicing regularly, you're keeping the precepts, you're doing as I talk about quite often, then you would be finding that the practice overall will be more invigorating rather than stifling. So without knowing a little bit more, you just said at the start maybe you're not getting enough sleep. So let's work on this. If you're not able to sleep, if you're having sleeping issues, then that's the time to get up out of bed and meditate. Because if you can't sleep, then use that opportunity to meditate. And then at least if you do fall asleep, it's good, because you wanted to go to sleep at that time anyway. So then have some sleep, have some rest. Okay. What are your thoughts on Hinduism? I don't have any thoughts on Hinduism. How difficult is the transition to having no money? I mean, mentally it's not, I found it more liberating than anything else, so not difficult. Of course you need the support of to some extent, a support of a Sangha if you're not in a Buddhist country, but I went on to having no money or not using money in a Buddhist country. Actually no, in India it's not a Buddhist country, and there I lived for 3 years without using money, mostly outside of the monastery and relying on food from Hindu temples. So there's my view on Hinduism from the last comment. They're very kind people. They fed me every day for nearly 3 years in India. So yes, I think they, like all religions, as I often say, they always promote kindness, generosity to each other, and being good, being nice. So yeah, there we go. That's the answer to that one. But yeah, I didn't find it difficult. Before I took up this life of renunciation, I had money. Then I started to give things away and get rid of things that I didn't need, simplifying my life. I took up the 8 precepts, which meant then I had to fund less food, less entertainment, less of this and that. And the simplification meant I had to earn less money, so I was able to work less, practice more. So I had a gradual introduction over a few years of living in a van in the UK, so a semi-monastic life. I was on the 8 precepts, but I was a layperson, I wasn't ordained, but I was living just in an old van on the beach in England, as simply as I possibly could. I didn't have to work much, but I needed very little money indeed. So yeah, the transition isn't difficult. You'll find that you really, I mean, in a Buddhist country, it's, I'm assuming you're coming not from a Buddhist country, because you'll know from a Buddhist country it's really not an issue. You cannot even use money if you want to, if you're in a Buddhist country, because you don't. There's no need to. People will buy what you need. You have your food given to you each day, your robes, your medicine and your shelter. That's all you need. Now things like visas or flight tickets, or that, you do need to have some kind of funding behind you that you've put in place, or people whom have generosity to support you, assist you with, for those necessary costs to be met. So in that sense, we're these days never fully free from using money. I mean, there are monks, including myself, that say I never use money. But even monks of many vasas in monasteries, if they're going from A to B, from one country to another, whether they're using money themselves, specifically handling money or not, money is being spent, isn't it? We cannot do anything. Our robes, our medicine, our food, our accommodation, the 4 basic requisites, although we don't use money ourselves to buy them, money is used to fund those things. So the point of this precept is we don't have cash about in our pockets to go and buy and make choices, a selection of things each and every day. That is the precept, and we stick to that as best we can. If the necessity arises where one has to travel, then often it is the case that money is used, and it is often on your instruction, because people don't know exactly always what's happening in your practice or in your life and where you might have to go, so you have to make those arrangements. But in that respect, there is support there. If you're in a monastery, which you are for a good few years before you're alone, then it is the monastery, the Sangha, that is responsible and in charge of all of that. When you are no longer permanently in the monastery, then you have to have someone appointed, a lay person, to be responsible for that. So you're never totally, in that respect, in the modern world, without money. All of the time I was in India, I was, because I was able to do so, because I was able to live outside, I was able to get free food, and it didn't matter what I wore, and that's all I needed. But you can't do that in modern countries. It's illegal to live outside in some places. You just get picked up. And in my own country, when I was living outside during the COVID time, during the lockdown, when I got stuck there, they tried to house me. They tried to give me accommodation, for an over 50-year-old living outside. It was not appropriate in the country I come from. They see it, the authorities, as you are in need of accommodation, and they do their best to try and house you. I said, well, thank you, but no thank you. I'm okay here in this vehicle, which they agreed and accepted was okay, but they still came along with rubbish bags each day and offered to take my rubbish along. These are the local authorities, the police and the local councils, to insist that, to ensure that I was looked after in that respect. So you can't just wander as a sadhu does, a wandering ascetic, a samana does in India, in most places in this day and age. So in that sense you have to have some money, but it's more like an insurance, isn't it? Like for medical expenses also, if you needed to be repatriated, if something seriously happened to your health, you would have to have in many countries medical insurance if you're staying there for any length of time. So you just use your common sense around that, and as long as you're not walking around with money or accepting money and spending money through in order to enhance your choices in life, then really you're not breaking the precept by having access to people who can fund things for you. So as you know, people people very kindly do donate some money to to assist me in my practice, because they're unable to come here and offer food or usual dana, and that is what enables me to fund this, having the internet for this purpose, and the basic but necessary equipment in order to do exactly these talks that I do. It enables me to maintain or be within the law of the country I'm living in, so have the relevant visas and always be able to, if asked, to leave, as does happen sometimes in countries, able to have access to funds, even if not by myself, someone who can arrange tickets for that purpose, etc. So it's not difficult. It should be what it should be is the least of your concerns, in summary, because just think of it as another precept. Once you've given up the money, that's it. You're free. It's everybody else's problem thereafter. Isn't that a lovely thing? You don't have to work, you don't have to worry about money. It's a wonderful, liberating thing. Okay, so group of questions here. I'm purposely trying not to skip any questions. I'm ploughing through them as best I can because I'm a little behind. So forgive me if they seem a little bit unthought out. They're always unthought out, but they're more so unthought out because if I see one I'm not sure about, normally I skip it. I've made a determination not to skip them today. Whatever it says in front of me, I'll at least have a go at answering it. I'm not 100% satisfied with my answers today, but they're not answers. I'm just sharing my experience and point of view. First, is there a particular path of Buddhism that is better suited for women to be ordained? Or if not, ordained to serve in some ways? Well, I don't think so. I'm not sure. about that, nor being a woman, I'm not sure. And monks don't have anything to do with women. This is the point. We have nuns and we have monks. So it's not that I don't care. And what I say to any questions about females and women in in monastic life, and with regards to ordination and with regards to practice specifically relating to female issues, I refer you to Ajahn Chanda in England. Not just because she's in England, but she's the only bhikkhuni in England, and she has the Anukampa project. Just Google Anukampa project. I think it's .org, is the charitable organisation and website where she deals with all things relating to, she's encouraging, and her project, as it's called, is to, Anukampa means out of compassion, to bring more women into the arena of monasticism through ordination, as full ordination as bhikkhunis. So she has a YouTube channel also with very useful Dharma talks, guided meditations, discussions, etc., and all of these things. She's working very busily in England. She comes from the lineage of Ajahn Brahm, whom you would have heard of, and to really help ladies, females. So I point you in her direction with regards to that, because I don't know the answer. The next one I can answer: can a monk be alone with a non-relative woman of advanced age, or an ordained woman, or are all females off limits to be alone with in all circumstances? Yes, the latter. We cannot be alone with any woman of any age, whether ordained or not, for any reason, in any circumstances, other than our mother. Now, I'm not 100% sure, because with regards to sickness, the Buddha has many caveats with regards to sickness. So in the case of ill health, the only time since I've been a monk I've been in hospital, it's been in either a Buddhist country or in India, where they understood I was a monk. So there was a man, a chaperone, present. And very often when you go to hospital in Asian countries, you have to have a friend or a chaperone come with you anyway. They don't like you staying, even if you're staying overnight. They put a little bed in the room for your friend. And I always say, I haven't got a friend. I'm going to be alone. I'm fine, thank you. I prefer it that way. But here in Sri Lanka, when I was in hospital, in Thailand, when I went to the hospital briefly, they always ensured that there was someone else in the room with you. So you cannot be alone. This is a very important rule. Now this means that there's no circumstance ever it's not that you can't be trusted, of course, but there's no circumstance ever for suspicion, or even the arousal of the notion that anything inappropriate could have ever gone on, or accusations ever made, because you're never in that situation of vulnerability, whether you be the man or the lady, neither here nor there. You're never in that situation. So you could never be accused of any inappropriate behaviour if you're never in that situation whereby that could have happened. So this is the point of that Vinaya rule. So even, for instance, someone comes here, a lady comes to offer dana, she wouldn't come alone, but if for some reason or another they have to, or the husband's in the car outside, I go outside there to the veranda, you see. They don't come in here. And a friend or anyone, except with the exception of your mother, you cannot be, even your sister, you can't go in the car with your sister driving alone from A to B. Now it seems that that's ludicrous, but you see, people seeing that, you'll especially find this noticeable in a Buddhist country, they would be offended to see a monk alone they don't know it's your sister, but they would be offended because you are disrespecting their faith, their religion, the faith they have in monastics being different. Like I said yesterday, monasticism, whether you're monks or nuns, you're celibate, you're different, you've given all of that up. So it needs to be always very clear. So whatever there's no excuse, whatever the reason, you're never alone with a woman. I've probably gone on a bit too much about that, haven't I? Okay, good, thank you for the nice comments at the end of that also. I have a question. Some people claim Buddhist monks can perform miracles. Can you perform a supernatural miracle? Well, now, I think it's a supernatural miracle that I can sit here and talk to you there, wherever you are, subscriber, questioner, emailer, in itself, isn't it, really? Now, a long time ago, that would have been considered a miracle, wouldn't it? It's not now. It is a little bit to me because I don't use social media, I don't use smartphones much other than for this purpose. So all of what they do, and being, you know, in my 50s, late 50s now, you know, even the television when I was a child was quite miraculous. No, supernatural miracles and this kind of thing are discouraged for monks because they can be seen as ways to, you know, attract attention. It isn't what we're practicing for. If skills come about through attainment, through the development of the practice, then we are required, as a matter of vinaya, as a matter of rules, to keep those and that information to ourselves. We mustn't ever speak of our attainments. So you're certainly not allowed to perform those or make it known that you're performing some miracles. But human life in its very self is a miracle, and we should consider that so beneficial because it is the opportunity for us to actually practice in this lifetime, in this Buddha Sasana, what the Buddha taught us to become free from suffering and subsequent rebirth and attain to Nibbana. And that is the only miracle we should be concerned with. Levitation, walking on water, turning water to wine is really no consequence. These are just worldly phenomena, much like the television putting sound and pictures in front of us from a long way away, or the smartphone enabling us to communicate in this fashion are miracles in this day and age. It's just phenomena, variations on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. And it is not that we're interested in. It is far deeper, more subtle, but more powerful than anything any miracles, supernatural or otherwise, can demonstrate. And we've had that question before, so I'll just skip it. Does she have a name? Oh, I imagine you're referring to the cat. No, she is the cat with no name. I call her Fleabags because she's got fleas which bite me, I think. Cat. Not really got round to giving it a name yet because they come and go. But you can give her a name if you wish. Okay. How long did it take for you to let go and become a monk? How long into meditation? So I was meditating for some years before I even knew what Buddhism was. Then I found Buddhism, and it was a slow and gradual process. And I would say that as yet, I'm not fully there. I'm a new monk. It's not a black and white thing. You're not suddenly a monk haven't suddenly let go. You gradually erode the defilements. You ordain, you become a novice monk. You then become a Navaka Bhikkhu, so a newly ordained Bhikkhu, which is what I am. Then a Majjhima, a middle sort of time Bhikkhu, and then a Maha Thera, or whatever the next title is when you've been a monk for over 10 years, or Ajahn, as they would call you, teacher in Thailand. So it keeps going, and then after that, there's all the stages of enlightenment. So it doesn't just stop and end. So I'm not finished. I'm beginning each day as you are. So although I've been maybe a little further along in my practice than you, I don't know. You may be. I don't know. You don't say. But how long? It's hard to quantify. I suppose I was meditating for a couple of years. Then I found a monastery and learned about Buddhism, and that assisted with my meditation. And then it was a few years before I could ordain. And then there were various obstacles in the way. So maybe it was even a few more years. Then when you first ordain, it's a few more years before you can be fully ordained. And now that's where I'm at this point in time. As far as letting go is concerned, I'm continually trying to let go as much as I can, certainly of the material things. That's the easiest part, but it is the letting go of the eradication of the defilements that is the true letting go of greed, hatred and delusion. The real understanding of anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, suffering and not self, to the extent that you can really accept that this body is really not you. So when you're told something's not working anymore and it will never work again, or you have a terminal illness, you equanimously are unaffected by that. It is just the body. So it takes us, I think, a little while to get to that amount, that level of having let go. So how long did it take? I would say it's work in progress. I'm still letting go of everything I possibly can, continually, each and every day through this practice. So on that, I think I should bring this to an end for now. I hope there is something useful in there. I'll talk more deeply, I think, or more in one just Dharma talk about the khandhas that I referred to just very tentatively in the first or second question or so. It warrants an entire mano and citta, consciousness and vijnana as opposed to citta, and its relation to the khandhas requires a whole Dharma talk. It's not really a simple thing that can be dealt with in questions and answers. So I only touched upon that briefly there. That's something that I'll need to talk about in more detail on another occasion. But if there's something useful in there, please use it and share it if you feel so inclined to do so. And thank you very much for watching, for listening, and all of your kind comments and support that you give me to carry on with my practice in this form. It does become difficult at this time of year. I think we have a very long monsoon season here in Sri Lanka, because I know when I arrived in October, the end of October, last year, it was still raining from the monsoon season, and bearing in mind we're in May, the end of May now, we've got a good 4 or 5 months of raining to go, I think. So it takes some adapting to, getting used to, and the body has to suffer a little more than one would normally speaking in one's home or normal environment. But this is part of the practice. But it is through your support and your encouragement that I'm able to keep going, and I'm not tempted to either go back to my monastery in India or go back to, say, my home country where it is now summer and spring coming and I can maybe stay in a monastery or stay at my mother's. There are many options there. It gives me the encouragement, your support that is, and determination to do what I set out to do, to stay here in this beautiful Buddhist country with all the support that I get from them, hopefully to give them in return support back through my demonstration of this way of living, and therefore, you know, have this interdependence with lay people here, even though I'm living alone, which is a very positive and impactful way of spreading, of demonstrating the Dharma. So my gratitude for that. Until next time, be happy and stay well. Sukhi Hotu.